matter of the day, and I think we'll begin with what was happening yesterday at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, and of course that was the Nairobi Gubernatorial debate. In fact, the first ever to happen in the country. We had a total of 8 candidates. There were 2 separate tiers of the debate. The first tier involved the candidates whose polling is below 5%, and the second candidate involved the 2 main contenders, that is UDA's Johnson Sakaja, who's also Nairobi Senator, and Polycarp Igathe of Jubilee. Let's just get a feel of some of the remarks and statements made yesterday.
No, let me go and check what Senator Sakaja cited as his degree in 2017. It's a public document. And then look at the degree he's saying it is today. We don't even know who he is. Is your name really Sakaja? Nairobi, careful, all of us, careful. We can no longer entertain charlatans in positions of high national responsibility. And charlatan is not an insult. It's people of questionable integrity. It's people and individuals who come to steal from you wholesale to distribute retail to their friends. And I submit to you, the man to my left will do exactly that. Careful.
I think the man to my right did exactly that by running away from the mandate given to him by Nairobians. Actually, the entire mess we have in this city. Because when he ran away from office, and I think he said somewhere because he got a bigger salary somewhere, I don't know. This city went into a spiral. I assure you, even the drafting of the articles of transfer, I had to be involved because we had to rescue Nairobians. And he ran away from that public office. Now, if you cannot withstand the heat of a deputy governor, you can't run Nairobi City County.
NMS, siwezi pata hiyo nafasi kwa sababu sheria inasema NMS muda wao utakuisha Novemba mwaka huu.
But it was extended and there's an opportunity to extend it.
I will give better service as governor of Nairobi than NMS.
Bwana Sakaja, on the issue of governorship and how Nairobi Metropolitan Services, beg your pardon, came in to rescue the day. Do you agree with this? And under governorship of Sakaja, would this continue?
It is very interesting to hear a man praising his ex-wife's husband. The reason NMS came about is because he got the quit. It's as simple as that. If the deputy governor of Nairobi, Polycarp Igathe, did not quit, there'd be no need to have an MS. Those boreholes you're naming, you should have done them. Those interventions you're talking about, you had a chance to do them. Devolution cannot be trivialized in this country. Devolution is the greatest gift we've given to our people. That every Kenyan, wherever they are, has a right to self-determine. I wrote about this in 2010 with the International Commission of Jurists. Fiscal decentralization and devolution in this country. That lady in Mutwini deserves a county government and a governor she can hold to account.
All right, so those are just some of the remarks made there by of course, the top contenders for this seat in Nairobi. But we also had the first year, which involved the other candidates, who include Esther Waringa, who is vying on an independent ticket. You have UPA's Kenneth Nyamwamu, Usawako Water Party's Nancy Mwadime, and also Herman Grewal, who is vying on a Safina Party ticket. I'd just like us to begin with the first tier of candidates. We had 4 of them, 3 gave it a wide berth. Gloria, what came out for you? What was the highlight for you from the 4 candidates who presented their agendas?
First, that there were 2 debates, for me, is one of the reasons I was saying, let's see whether the presidential debate will also have 2 debates, because it is clear we have the front runners, William Ruto and Raila Odinga, and others. And yet, when you look at what the media is trying to do, is they're trying to elevate someone from the others to join the top. So first of all, my thing was, I'm waiting to see how they are going to carry out the presidential debate, because if you're actually going to put the others on the same debate with William Ruto,
so you're saying saying it was unfair?
Very unfair. It was very unfair, because you're either a gubernatorial candidate or you're not. There is no gray area. You're not almost a gubernatorial candidate. So for the Media Council or whoever made that decision, I wanted to understand the logic behind it and if it is going to apply to all their debates. Because if you look at the newspapers today, we are seeing Wajakoya being elevated to a level where he is not. Practically, he isn't. So the thing that came out for me...
So highlighting the fact that he is rising within, you know...
No, he's not rising.
With respect to the opinion polls.
No. The opinion polls that are also influenced by media, no. And rising because who has said is rising? No. And who decides that this one is rising to the level that tutamweka kwa the first debate and the second? Let me tell you something. When William Ruto actually, when we were going to present his papers in Bomas, and he actually spoke out against this media bias and said, you are expecting that we will come and participate in a flawed, you know, the debate that you're already biased. You already have a candidate. So when I saw this thing yesterday, I was like, how could they do that? Either they subject us to all gubernatorial candidates who show up in the debates, and they equally just, you know, give them time, or they say, this debate is not a gubernatorial debate, just as the media was highlighting at the bottom, Sakaja versus Igade. They did not highlight. I was looking at the taglines at the bottom. There was nothing about Nairobi gubernatorial debate. It was Sakaja Igade face-off. So already the media is biased there, honestly speaking, because these other candidates, they've taken their papers, IBC has cleared them, they are out campaigning. So why are you subjecting us to two levels of debates? And don't tell me about polls, because polls are subjective, you know? Polls are subject. We do not have an authority that is accepted by all, that is actually, you know, under IBC or whatever, that is independent, that if a poll comes from there, we like, enyewe hiyo poll ya huko, imesema uko chini. So,
all right, so
it was very biased.
Okay, so this was within the purview of course, the Presidential Debate Secretariat.
And I hope in the presidential debate that they put Wajakoya and the others down there.
However, you are yet to answer me on your assessment of the first four candidates. You've not given me that, but let me get to Hezbollah.
I was already, the thing is,
right.
You know, when media does that, what it already, you see, like now me as a viewer, I was already like, what the hell, you know? So even to give you an assessment, you've already tampered with what would have been an objective assessment by the fact that the media has decided these ones are not befitting enough, so we are going to put them here. And I'm just hoping, since we have started that trend, that the media understands that Wajakoya and his 1%, 2 or 0 point whatever these polls are saying, him and the others will be put on another presidential debate, because sincerely speaking, if you subject William Ruto to a debate with Wajakoya, you can be sure we are not coming.
But we have
we are going to tell
four presidential candidates.
Yeah.
All right, Hezbollah.
You see, I think, first of all, you know, Gloria seems to be lamenting without offering any substantive argument. You can't blame an entire team made up of media professionals and media owners on a debate that they took millions and time to organize. You can't just wake up and say, you know, it's useless. Media is biased without substantive, you know, underpinnings to that. The question is, she didn't watch.
I did.
Simple.
I watched
clear.
it.
Did you watch it from the beginning till the very end?
Yes.
All
you
right.
see, if
so
she did,
take that back.
No,
wait. Why
if
I'm
she did,
sitting right
your
here.
question you asked was very simple.
Although I'm sitting right here, I watched the debate.
What did she make out of the four candidates? Very simple. She didn't answer. She lamented throughout. But let me say this. You know, first, the idea of having these, you know, two gubernatorial debates is a very noble idea, because the public space in itself is sacrosanct, that we need to have very constructive engagements. Now, opinion polls tell us, you know, will tell us definitely who has political clout as a gubernatorial candidate. So, I mean, just like Gloria wouldn't want Wajakoya to be put on the same pedestal with the deputy president, it is only fair that Sakaja and Igathe are not put with guys who polled less than 5%. But let me go to the candidates. You know, it's interesting that most of them raised very substantive issues. The only thing that I didn't see in the four candidates, and including the other two, Sakaja and Igathe, there was nothing landmark about, you know, what they would do that you know, tells me as a Nairobi resident that here is a guy who has a brilliant idea that we need to look out for. So you look at Agnes, for instance, and I think I identified, not Agnes, Nancy Wambui. I identify with her because the business of any city all over the world is Mwananchi. that any metropolis, has to deal with the issues of the common Mwananchi and the residents of those cities. Be it transport, be it infrastructure, be it waste management, be it a conducive environment for doing business. And I think Nancy sort of spoke about the Nairobi residents and making Nairobi a home. You don't have to leave Suna East, where I come from, and come here and wallow in poverty. So if you have a governor who is talking about making this a home, that is the person we need to listen to. The only issue is she didn't go into depth to explain how you're going to make Nairobi a home. How is it going to be a home for everyone, irrespective of which neighborhood you live in? I also liked what Kenneth Nyamwamu talked about, and I think it's a bit elitist because he talked about business-friendly environment. But you see, in Nairobi, it is not just for businessmen. So he needed to go deep and tell us, now, if it is a business-friendly environment, how does it then tap into making the lives of the city residents much better? But I wouldn't say that there was something that would strike someone as a candidate who is worth thinking about in these 4 candidates.
All right. Professor Gitile Naituli, I'd like to get your view of the debate yesterday, and just focusing first of all on the 4 gubernatorial candidates.
Martha Karua has insisted that whoever we elect in this election must pass the integrity test. There was a beautiful exchange there, and it's being lost in this cacophony of who didn't have what. The exchange on whether Sakaya actually passes the integrity test.
Prof, we're going to get to that second debate. We're going to get to that second debate. I'd like us to just focus first on the first tier of that debate, which involved the 4 candidates who, of course, according to the opinion polls.
I want to confess that yes, and I was traveling, I did not watch the debate.
All right. But did you watch the second part?
Yeah, I've just watched the exchange, which I wanted to address between Sakaya and Iganda.
All right.
Where if Sakaya declared, yes.
Prof, so
if Sakaya declared,
allow me to get then Dunstan Omari's reaction on, and of course his analysis on the first debate. Then we get back now to the main, of course, the main contenders in this election.
Well, for the first debate, much of content was missing in terms of identifying the problems Nairobi faces or the issues Nairobi faces and the solutions that are practical, legal, and within the framework. None of the 4 people understood the connection between Vision 2030, the master plans of Nairobi, the question about solid waste management, the question about the slum upgrade system. So in essence, the gentlemen and ladies were totally abstract. And that is why they never connected with the viewers. One, none wore the suit of a politician. The people I saw there were keyboard wizards. So they need to understand that yesterday was a platform to sell their manifestos. Yesterday was a platform.
Did they inspire confidence to the voters?
They did not inspire any confidence for people to trust. 2.5 million Kenyans were watching, and many more. They did not at all inspire the aura of a governor. So what I will tell them, and I listened to, for example, the panelists who are there, the panelists almost unanimously dismissed them that they went for what they are not fit for. They could have started with an MCA position. They rise up to a member of parliament position. They rise up to a deputy governor's position. A governor's position of Nairobi is a super governor, is the pulse of the city.
But it is not wrong for them to be ambitious enough to want to be governor.
By law, Article 38 allows anybody who is a Kenyan to contest. But the question is, it is a waste of people and Kenyans' time to be able to listen to nothing. When you stand before the public, you have got to have material that they will listen to. And I'm telling you, if ever those guys will assess NTV clip and review their performance individually, they will say it did them a bigger disservice, a total disservice. Because you walk on Mombasa Road, you see their posters But when you see them live, you ask whether this is the poster and this is the person putting out that issue. Governance structures, the structure of Nairobi, Kenyans need to know. Do you even know Nairobi? This is their constituent. Do they even know Nairobi? Do they know how many MCAs are in Nairobi? Do they know how Parliament, the county assembly works? Do they know the composition of the executive of Nairobi? So in essence, they came purely to attract attention, probably next time. And one thing I want to remind the organizers, I hope you take this live to the organizers, especially when I'm coming to the Sakaja issue. We have only the governors contesting.
Okay.
We didn't have the deputies. If the organizers will do magic, is that behind the governor candidate, the face, because now the court has said the photo of the deputy will also be in the ballot. What the organizers could do, and you'll tell them, is that the governor stands there, behind him, the face of the deputy stands there, so that we can associate to them. Because I'm telling you, it was not an individual issue. It is a corporate issue. A governor's seat is a governor plus a deputy. We have slotted for a debate for the deputy presidential candidates. We have now presidential candidates coming last. Where is the role of deputy governors? So for the next election, for the next debate in 2022, I hope you'll take 2027. Take it that there is need to have the face of the deputy standing by the governor, so that they take the flak, both of them. They take success, both of them.
Prof, let me get back to you now, because you at least have an understanding a bit of the second tier of the debate that involved Johnson Sakaja and Polycarp Igathe. Now, there has been actually this criticism befalling Sakaja for apparently coming in about 20 minutes late. That was into the debate, and some have seen some reaction on social media, some saying that that was quite disrespectful of Sakaja to come in late. Let me get your thoughts on that.
Yes, but not only the coming late, I think the question Igathe raised on what was a declaration on Sakaya's academic qualification 2017. 2017 allegedly declared that he has a degree from University of Nairobi. There was no mention of Tim's University in Uganda. So it turns out that he didn't have a degree from University of Nairobi. That is already an offense, because those documents were tendered to a government agency. So Martha Karua has insisted that whoever we elect, that the person needs to pass the integrity test. I want to say that from that exchange between Sakaya and Igathe, Sakaya doesn't pass the integrity test. I think we need to be careful as a people. If in the village committee where we live, we can't elect you as the chair of that committee or as the treasurer of that committee, I don't see why we should elect you as the governor of Nairobi. So that exchange, we need to have a look at it. It was a beautiful exchange. I did not see follow-up. That should have been a serious follow-up. Sakaya very clever and diverted that to Igathe's resignation. I think any of these Kenyans who is able to make a determination that by being in the office is not serving the purpose to which the Kenyans wanted to serve by electing me and he resigns, we need to realize those are principled Kenyans and those are the people we need in leadership.
Husband, I mean, Sakaja is already gazetted by IBC, so definitely he's, going to be in the ballot papers. But on one hand is Sakaja, who's that controversial degree still haunting his credibility, and on the other hand is Igathe, who quit 6 months into the job. Looking at the two candidates, what do we need? A political leadership or a technocrat?
Well, I think whether you're a political leader or a technocrat, you'll need to demonstrate leadership, that is geared towards serving the citizen. It takes both. I mean, you have to get the skills of dealing with the corporate politics. And I think Igade has that. You know, people tend to believe that there isn't politics in the corporate world. There is serious, serious politics. The only difference is that in the corporate world, you can't get away with it. It is serious politics that is informed by the shareholder value, that you have to work in the interest of, you know, the people who've invested their money. And I think it's the same thing in politics, you know, that there is the shareholder value. You have to work in the interest of the people who are giving you that power. So as far as, you know, their traditions are concerned, one from the corporate world, another one who has been in politics, I think what they bring is more or less the same. The dynamics of politics are the same. Deliver for the people. Number two, I think what we saw yesterday, I think, was a very shrewd politician in Sakaja. Because I don't want to imagine that he came late, you know, inadvertently. I mean, that was by design. He just wanted to deflate Igade, and it worked for him. Come late, exude confidence, deflate your opponent, you know, and then you'll have a field day. You'll have an edge. And I think Sakaja did that extremely well. Now, did it work for him? I think he also demonstrated an understanding of the city of Nairobi. You know, a lot of questions from Igade that Sakaja had to respond to. He actually responded like someone who understands the city of Nairobi. One of the key things that he was asked, which to me, you know, if I was Igade, I wouldn't have asked, is, you know, his participation in Sonko's impeachment. You know, I mean, that was a masterclass by Sakaja. I mean, if you are a politician and you oversight the city that you represent, the only thing you can do is never take side, but prosecute. And I think if we reflect back, he prosecuted his point on Sonko impeachment.
So would you say perhaps Sakaja was able to articulate his issues much more better than how Igade did? He did.
To be fair to you know, to the viewers and Sakaja Igade, I think Sakaja did execute, you know, his candidature, the things he stands for. You know, a very in-depth understanding of this city of Nairobi to a large extent, you know. And you can actually say that from the two, on the basis of how they articulated themselves, Sakaja has a bigger understanding of what is happening in Nairobi. But credit to Igade, because what we expected was a whitewash. We expected that Igade would come in with the corporate appeal, the aura of a corporate executive. But far from it, he came in as a politician, you know. He took Sakaja blow by blow. Everything that Sakaja explained, you know, you could actually see that this is someone who understands this. So what puts Igade, you know, probably at a similar pedestal as Sakaja is that we've seen both in Nairobi. We've seen a politician run Nairobi. I mean, we didn't get much out of it. We ended up with NMS. We've also seen an executive in Kidero run Nairobi. So on the basis of what we've seen, you can't say that you need a corporate guy or you need a politician. So it's a question of to what extent do they convince us that they can marry the two. And I would say that on that front, Igade won. Okay. Igade came with the corporate aura, but demonstrated that he also understands the politics. But let me say this, you know, whether we want to run away from it or not, you know, the people of Nairobi will still be asking themselves, we need a leader that we can trust. With all these integrity issues surrounding Sakaja, he is on the ballot, and it is important that this thing will be adjudicated by the voters. Okay. I don't think voters will run away from the fact that you need someone you can trust as the governor of Nairobi. Okay.
Gloria, what did it come down to for you between that contestation between Sakaja and Polycarp Igade and their agendas?
I was wondering what debate my co-panelist was referring, because yesterday was like clear. Actually, if you look at, this is the Standard on page 12. There's a lady there who has been gazetted to have won from Kericho, the women rep seat, yeah? Uncontested. After yesterday, it is literally just, it's only because we already have candidates who have already presented their papers, but otherwise, Sakaja has won, and he should be gazetted. Anyway, I would say
Gloria's,
yeah, I would say this. It's just that it's a technicality. Nivenye kuna candidates wengine, otherwise he's won. On page 3 of the Star, which is very interesting, there's a cartoon there of Igade and Sakaja during the debate. And one has Igade wearing all these hats, including a chef's hat. And it says, a jack of all trades and a master of none. And on the other side, you have Sakaja with a, you know, a hat that's almost a graduation hat that's almost going onto his head, just to indicate what's happening. My opinion is this. Yesterday was a clear demonstration that, you know, you can have degrees, you can have PhDs, you can have all sorts of things, masters. You could have gone to school for so many years, but yet you still can't tell us how to solve a problem. When you looked at how Igade approached the question of how are you going to solve the issue of water in Nairobi, he had no clue what we were talking about. In fact, at one point he even said he was shocked to see that Nairobi yani kuna watu wanabeba maji na punda. He was so shocked. This is a candidate who's saying, I am going to govern this county, I'm going to, you know, offer these solutions, blah, blah, blah. But he was shocked that Nairobi, we still have donkeys actually helping us transport water with jerry cans. And then if you look at how he even approached a basic, you know, I've been a candidate. I vied in Bobasi constituency as an MP. And I've been on the campaign trail for like 2.5 years. And at the bare minimum, as a candidate, whether MCA, whether MP, gubernatorial, or presidential, the question of what are you going to do in your first 100 days? Yani, in your sleep, if someone wakes you up, you should be like, I will do, I will do, I will do. Igade had no clue. As a matter of fact,
but he did articulate his issues, of
no,
course,
no, no,
on
no.
what
I'm talking about,
to.
I'm being specific because, you know, we are also public relation experts. We come to TV and people think you wake up and you wing it. You just answer questions. No, there's like, I personally have like at least 40 minutes prior research where I have to figure out so that when Dunstan here comes to tell me section 22 of the Election Act, I'll be like, yes, I know that section. In fact, you know, so Igade for me was a person who went to do some PR. So when it came down to the actual issues, when he was asked about his first 100 days, he took literally 1 minute and 40 seconds saying how he's going to make sure in the first 100 days the administration will be set up. Your whole first 100 days, you're going to be setting up your administration, meaning you haven't really thought through what Nairobians need. A simple thing would be, in the first 100 days, sincerely, like what Sakaja said, single business permit. You know, that is an administrative, you know, I was waiting for him to say, we are going to cancel ABCD. The problems that we are facing, because as a candidate in your first 100 days, you should at least at the bare minimum have 4 things.
All right.
He didn't have any.
Okay.
And then the other thing that was very clear was that I personally had nilikuwa nimeweka Igade on another level because this is a person who's been a CEO, this is a person who's been like he has an extensive CV. As a matter of fact, there's a joke that there are people who are just blessed, they wake up and they get jobs and, you know, high-level jobs and whatever. So I actually, I had thought that it was because of his skills and his competencies that he could just wake up and get a senior management level job because people know what he can deliver. But for me as a voter yesterday, was like, oh my goodness. Yani, these companies have been suffering like this. This guy cannot articulate things. This guy cannot solve problems. This guy can actually not understand that this debate has everything to do with convincing the voters. Okay. So it ended up being a match. He actually spent most of his time attacking Sakaja as opposed to selling and convincing the electorate that, look, here I am, give me the vote. I
see Hezbon is dissenting, but I'll start with Dunstan. And then I'll go to Prof, then Hezbon. I mean, you seem to be disagreeing with most of these issues that Gloria is raising.
Well, I totally agree with the way Igade presented his issues. One, Nairobi City Council or Nairobi County is a monster next to the national government. The bureaucracy of Nairobi City, the county government is so massive that when somebody wakes up and tells you in 100 days he is going to abolish alliances. Alliances is not an executive decision. It is a discussion that goes to the county assembly. A bill is presented. It is debated, public participation is involved in compliance with Article 10, then that bill comes to the governor for assent. So Sakaja seems not to know that he does not have the autocracy and the power to decide what to do, but through a laid down mechanism. And that's why I agree with Igade that within 100 days, definitely there's nothing he will do. Formation of government, creation of positions, removal of those who he thinks are non-performers, lobbying these people that you have brought in to show them the vision and the mission, to agree. If you go as a one-man solo, you never go anywhere. Sonko went a one-man solo, the whole government of Nairobi collapsed. So that is why Igade brings in two things that are very critical. The management skills of lobbying every stakeholder into seeing the vision and mission of what you want them to do.
But what does Nairobi City really need? Do we need that manager, or do we need a political leader who understands the governance issues in this city?
Management and politics are one and the same thing. There has never been politics of shouting and dancing. That is destructive politics. Politics, in essence, from the angle of management, is how do you harness the resources that you have, both human beings and the capital that you have, for you to achieve a destination that you know. If you do not know that destination, you cannot shepherd his people. And that is why Sakaja attracted the majority of those who, for example, his coming late was a political statement. He lacked the management aspect because he can do very well as a politician, and that is why...
But it would be fair to say that Sakaja had a better grasp of Nairobi than...
He has a better grasp of Nairobi from a political angle. He can do very well in rallies in Kawangware, in rallies at Jacaranda, but in terms of putting the infrastructure that will take water to that place, it is about management, it is about harnessing resources, it is about sourcing for funds, it is about the confidence within the business community. So Sakaja did very well as a politician. And that is why everybody will say he did very well. The questions that we have now is about the transition from the populist approach towards management of public issues to desktop management of our public issues. Sakaja was a field manager outside, but Igade comes in and tells you, wait, we must have a budget, we must have resources, we must have the right personnel, we must have to identify the needs, we need to do that. In essence, for the public, give Sakaja his due. He beat Igade. And that is why I've offered for free that I will join the team Igade to give him the impetus and as William was ahead,
really.
I agree. For now, Sakaja is ahead. The way William Ruto was ahead. In the next 2 weeks, you will see reverse psychology because
Dunstan would have joined.
We are joining, and very many people are joining to give Sakaja, to give Igade. That is, I belong to Azimio. So really, I belong to that party, and I have a duty to ensure that my governor gets it straight. The political angle was missing.
Okay, Dunstan. We have to take another break before we come back. Remember, 2.4 million votes is what is at stake in this county of Nairobi. In fact, it has the highest number of votes among the 47 counties. Well, let's take a short break. We'll be back and continue with the conversation. All right, welcome back to AM Live. The hashtag to use is MLiveNTV, and it's all about that Nairobi gubernatorial debate that took place yesterday at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. Of course, 6 candidates showed up. We had the first year with 4 candidates presenting their agendas to Nairobians and the nation as well. And on the second tier of that particular debate, we did have Johnson Sakaja, the Nairobi senator, as well as Polycarp Igathe, a former deputy governor, was also seeking that top position at the City Hall. And I'd like to bring in Professor Gitile Naituli. You've been quite quiet virtually from Meru County, and you've been listening to the rest of the panelists on who articulated the issues on the concerns that Nairobians are actually facing and the concerns that Nairobians have in terms of addressing the challenges that they are facing. But at the end of it all, are we coming back just to look at now the individual and, you know, how they're capable in bringing out those issues and addressing those challenges?
You need two skills to be a successful leader and therefore governor of Nairobi. You need broad comprehension of the issues affecting the citizens of Nairobi County. You also need a sharp focus in order to find the solutions, to address the solutions for those issues, address those problems. Now, Igathe demonstrated that he has both wide comprehension and a sharp focus. Sakaya demonstrated only comprehension of the issues. So for the Nairobians, I think the choice is very simple. You need the leader who combines those two leadership qualities.
Okay, Prof. So, Gloria, I know, before I get to Gloria, I know, husband, you are dissenting to some of the views that Gloria had mentioned on the facts that were stated yesterday.
Yeah, I think one thing that came out clearly is that Sakaja is a shrewd politician. He understands Nairobi, and he made good use of that to, you know, wow guys outside there who want a leader who understands Nairobi. But I would say, you know, leadership is not just winning an election is good, and I think Sakaja.
Does it come down to this brand, this character?
No, I think the issue of character is better left out, because then we'll start talking about integrity. But I think that will take us away from the main issues, like it took them away from the main issues. Clearly, the issue here is, if you are a manager or a leader in this city of Nairobi, how practical is it that you're going to solve the problems of Nairobians in 100 days? You know, political statements can win someone an office, and Kenyans have been there, making, you know, listening to politicians make these outlandish promises of solving issues in 100 days. We had the maize issue, the Unga issue in 2017. We still have it today because of those populist statements that politicians make. The issue of sorting Nairobi, if you look at the attack that Gloria had on Igathe, that he couldn't articulate what he will do in 100 days. He made it clear that in 100 days, he'll set a framework that works. 100 days is just 3 months. If someone is going to solve our problems from today, and he has already figured out that in 100 days he'll solve those problems, I don't think that person understands the political processes. I don't think that person understands governance. I don't think that person understands what Nairobi needs. And this is where Igathe has a strength, that from the corporate world, things are done on the basis of rationalistic, you know, underpinnings. That you look at the workforce that you have, and you know Nairobi has 15,000 employees, yeah. You look at the 15,000 employees, how are you going to harness, you know, the potential and capabilities of these 15,000 employees to deliver on the Nairobians? This
is perhaps one of the most fiercely contested county. Why is it so important?
Because the revenue.
What is the importance of Nairobi?
You see,
to be captured by either of the, you know, whoever will win the coalition.
is what Nairobi contributes to the national coffers. You know, Nairobi contributes in excess of 60% of what other counties, you know, contributes to the national coffers. And then Nairobi only gets 5% in return out of that. So management of Nairobi begins with how do you, you know, leverage on the potential in Nairobi to get more resources. That is one. And then number two, how do you work with other leaders within Nairobi to ensure that whatever comes back, whatever is devolved to Nairobi as a city, is commensurate to the needs of the people of Nairobi? You're not going to do that in 100 days. You have to sit down, get actuarial scientists like Sakaja, get technocrats to sit down and craft a way forward. So it is a lot more practical to say that you lay a foundation for takeoff. We've seen before, you know, a governor's position is not a senator. You're not going to represent people. You're going to manage people. And you don't manage by issuing decrees before you win an election. These decrees are just populist to ensure that you win an election. But the problem that Kenyans have today is we give people the power without understanding the kind of deliverables we expect from the power that we're giving them. And I think that is where Sakaja is. He demonstrated that he has the wherewithal to win an election. But Igathe demonstrated that once we give him that power, he will deliver on us. Okay.
Gloria.
I think for me, most of these issues we are trying to say, this one did that, this one didn't articulate his issues. But I was actually, when we were on the break, I was asking the Azimio team how they thought their candidate Igathe did yesterday. And they were like, no. Most of our people thought, they were a bit shocked about Sakaja. I'm like, no, how did you think your candidates did? Do you think that people were wowed? And you know, he said, well, he didn't do so well. So it was obvious that if yesterday was about
Hezbollah, perhaps thinks this was supposed to be off record.
Wait, first, right? I'm not Azimio. Number two, right. That is a conversation that Gloria had with a clone of Hezbollah.
Okay, let her finish. Let her finish her sentence.
By the way, next time I should have gotten a heads up. I actually got the poster much later. I would have come with all the punchlines because I have 3 Azimio fellas against one Kenya Kwanza.
No. That's not fair.
But I think this is the bottom line. The debates are helpful. Okay. Because there are people who don't go to rallies, it's true. And they have not interacted with these candidates. Okay. And perhaps the only way of interacting with these candidates is by, you know, watching the debates. But I think one of the things I really want to say, and perhaps it's not really advice, but it's something I want to perhaps feedback to the organizers is, I feel as though if the organizer is a commercial entity, first of all, there is the element of how do we get the numbers? How do we get the viewers? You know, so any kind of drama and whatever, and panelists asking you if Gloria is really your name and things like that. I understand it's necessary because you're trying to keep the viewers to watch. But there's a serious debate such as the presidential debate, if you had asked me, I feel as though in the future we need to look into having it being organized by people who are non-partisan in terms of there's no commercial benefits, perhaps a non-governmental organization.
Remember,
so that
this was
no
a partnership between different organizations
who all have commercial interests. And I have seen that
you have civil society organizations,
civil society, some of the civil, I am from the civil society, by the way, and some of them are heavily sponsored by individuals or organizations that are already biased towards this election. So I just think that the funding of the organizations behind those organizing these debates, it should be above par, and it should be that we understand. And that's why perhaps when we talk about the polls also, you know, when someone says the polls indicated that these 4 candidates of the gubernatorial place should have, they were low, so that's why we put them on tier 1, we need to have confidence, I mean across board, that all sides of the political divide say that IEBC Kisema, you know, because IEBC is independent. So this polling, whatever Kisema, this polling, whatever is independent. So I think for future, and even particularly for the presidential debates, I would recommend that they sincerely look into having a host that is not local, that is non-partisan, that can be able to participate and have political obscurity.
Just to come...
So this is my feedback.
And not just in defense of the media professionals. These are professionals who are given an opportunity, and there were guidelines within which, in fact, they had their own research and came up with their own questions that was not shared with anybody else. So
can I give you an example of what's now a factual example that happened yesterday? We had a moderator actually speaking when the timer of Sakaja was on. The same moderator that was saying, Sakaja, you're out of
Gloria,
time.
We're heading probably to a...
but I'm just saying, this is feedback from people who are watching, because we are the ones who are going to watch the next debate that I'm sure they're looking up to.
And I hope the Secretariat, of course, is listening, and that's Gloria's opinion.
Yeah, they need to be very careful, because a simple mistake like that might, you know, people might be like, uyu kweni ni wa Azimio, you know.
No. Of course, if that was your perception...
No, for me, I thought we need to be careful.
Yes.
Let me rope in to defend the media. UDA's obsession with the foreigners, I don't know what it is, saying that a debate of governors who are Kenyans to be moderated by foreigners, it is a serious indictment on the trust of Kenyans.
Do you know what level of foreigners I'm talking about? I'm not talking about foreigners in terms of nationality. I'm talking about foreigners in terms of those who are not partisan, in terms of the industries, in terms of media, and in terms of political divide. When you say a foreigner, it means someone who's not within that institution. So what I'm saying, like I said, non-partisan organizations or individuals who have no interest in commercial or viewership.
I think,
yeah, not foreigners,
yes,
like
let's just wind up on that, Dan Stan, as we just still go back to now that race.
Do not blame the messenger. The media did their best. Sakaja won the event yesterday. Let us not continuously criticize the media, because the media did tremendously well. They were everybody was given time to sell their manifesto. Right. Number two, when we deal with the question about management of the city, and I'm telling you, Sakaja, given that position, he will only take 3 months. I'll be defending him in the anti-corruption court, because the procedure for procurement of government services is not like an office of a chief. You get in and say, give me a pen. He will come to learn that the Procurement Act is the entity that provides for services. And that process is tedious, is long, it is not as easy. And that is why most of the politicians, you see, they come and tell Kenyans that, I'll do this. When they reach there, because of that pressure, they circumvent the procurement law. Let me be very, very candid, and that is why Igade stood up, because he understood that procurement of services within the law takes time.
But you have all these wonderful promises, but when it comes to implementation, how sure are you that Polycarp Igade would do better than Sakaja?
What I'm saying, Polycarp Igade appreciated that there is a procedure, there is a law.
Okay.
And that is the difference between him and Sakaja. Sakaja thinks that he'll go to the county government and get his money and get the money from the account and take it. The procedures, for God's case, Sakaja failed to deal with the law of procurement when he was a member of parliament. That law is, for example, if you look at the expressway, the procurement of this expressway started almost 5 years ago, before the actual implementation is done. Until we deal with that question, let no politician stand on the platform and tell you, Hezbollah, I'm going to build a road here. The process of acquiring and getting approvals, compensation for land, compulsory land acquisition, where you want to do that, is a nightmare.
Okay.
It's totally a nightmare. So let Sakaja be told by Gloria that I have no business representing him for flouting procurement rules and laws. Let him follow the law, and that is why Igade is the best person, because he will know that the law is supreme.
Igade will give you more work than Sakaja. In fact, you're in the right team. You're in the right team. Even if he doesn't win the election.
Let me comment on that. Professor Naituli, there are other candidates who gave this debate a wide berth. Do they stand to lose out?
Yes, they do. I think they need to respect the process, and I wanted to tell Gloria that our media professionals have proved that they are really professionals. They have handled themselves very well over time, not just within this election. Now, those who boycotted did not show up. They did themselves a disservice. We need to hear their voice. We respect them. They have offered to serve us. So they should also respect our desire to know who they are. So by not coming, they are not respecting us.
All right.
They are not respecting the position that they are seeking, and therefore they are not being fair to the process.
Okay. All right. So we have very few minutes, but I'll give each one of you 30 seconds each to probably just make your closing remarks and a message to Nairobians who watched yesterday, and perhaps what they should take from, that particular debate. I'll begin with you, Dunstan, and we'll end with Gloria.
The voters of Nairobi, remember, Nairobi is ours. It is not ending. Either Sakaja or Igade whoever wins, let Nairobi remain peaceful, let Nairobi live after 9th. Nairobi is positioning itself to be the hub, the capital of all African cities. Let us rebuild this city. Let us have the confidence that everybody wants. And for those ones who are not happy by the debate, you have a date on 9th to cast your vote. For those ones who are happy, celebrate your winner, but let us remain as Nairobi. Let us not be divided, because this city is our city, and let us develop this city to the height it is.
All right, Husband.
Yeah, first of all, let me just respond to the issue of the media and a few things that have been raised here. I mean, the world over, and of course, I'm captured there as a governance expert, but let me say that I'm a media and communication researcher. That is my day job. And what I know and what is, you know, true globally is that the media is funded predominantly by advertising. And then number two, in a democracy, the media is the only institution that has some sort of a social contract with the public. We are not going to believe what UDA says, what ODM says, what Kenya Kwanza says, or what, you know, Azimio says. We have a lot more belief in the media, and we cannot stand here, talk about politics, and criticize what the media is doing. We depend on the media for our political processes. But ultimately, let me say that as far as the debate is concerned, the business of leading Nairobi is about the citizens of Nairobi. And if I may quote Plato, who talks about, you know, the society is in safe hands when leadership is bestowed on the wise. Yesterday, we saw two serious contenders. One demonstrated an understanding of the city of Nairobi. The second one demonstrated an understanding of how to manage the city of Nairobi. It is upon Nairobians to wait for Igade's manifesto that will be out tomorrow, and what Sakaja will give, and we will make a decision.
All right. Thanks, Husband. Gloria?
I think I want to remind Kenyans in general that when you hear the Kenya Kwanza team talking about state capture, we are not joking. The fight for Nairobi has got nothing to do with the electorate. It has got everything to do with a few individuals who want to push their interests. I want to remind Nairobians that there is a project called the Northland City. Ask yourself who owns it. Ask yourself in whose interest is that Northland City. When we remember the NMS and how it came into play, the illegality of NMS, because it is actually unconstitutional and illegal, and that has come from judiciary. You have to ask yourself who was behind pushing Sonko, who was the choice of the people out. Now here we have two candidates. We have one who is a project of, you know, the state, the behind the scenes people who are interested in the Northland City and evicting Kenyans from their homes. And then we have the other project of the people, who is actually the candidate that the people know is going to deliver them from all the ills of Nairobi. And then you have to ask yourself, are you going to actually cast your vote to the same people who evicted you, to the same institutions that are actually capturing the state? So vote wisely. Vote wisely.
All right. Thank you. Gloria Orwoba, Youth Policy Analyst, Hesbon Ovela, Governance Expert, Danstan Omari, Political Analyst as well as lawyer, and of course from Meru County, virtually Professor Gitile Naituli, Governance Expert. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in, for this conversation this morning. And of course, we'll continue having that on our social media platforms. The hashtag is AMLiveNTV, at NTV Kenya, at Zenabi Smile. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. But the show does not end. I know, let me get, I know, all right, Winnie, you've passed through the other way. All right, good morning, how are you?
Good.
I'm fantastic, I'm well.
Conversation you guys had today.
Indeed.
You know, and we just want to sort of continue with the same today during the show, and that is all about mental health and elections.
All right.
Did you know there is actually something called the election stress disorder?
Election stress disorder.
Yep. It is happening.
What? So this
it's people just being stressed about the election, the whole process, about the pre-election and even post-election. Remember, again, there was a case of you know, violence, and a lot of people are traumatized by the same. So it's just a lot of stress, you know, happening, and especially during the campaign period and even after. And this cuts across not only for us as the people who are going to vote, but even the politicians themselves, you know, who are campaigning. So that is what we want to look at.
That's a very interesting perspective to look into the election process. Well, thank you, Winnie. I will you will take that after this short break. Thank you for watching. My name is Zenabi Smile. Have yourself a good day.